Welcome to day 7 of buying my reseller warehouse. This is filming from inside the new building, and as you can see behind me, we have been very busy today. Sort of the tagline for today's video is pivot. Had several pivots and changes that had to be enacted today, and so I thought I'd share that with you because that's really part of the journey. And I'm sure that any of you who have, the best laid plans or all those things, it sometimes has to get interrupted. So what happened for me was the electricians have been here taking down the lighting, and so they've already done that. They demolitioned the lighting. I had 2 electricians working, but one of them, he had a grandbaby born. And unfortunately the grandchild had a little medical problem, and so kind of took him away from the work. But that wasn't the major setback. The major setback was that the lights that they had ordered, and I don't know where the mix-up was, but essentially the company that he was dealing with didn't have the right lights or ordered the wrong lights or whatever. And luckily I sort of paid up to get a really good quality electrician who has researched and makes sure that I'm going to get the right things, they're all going to work, and they have the right voltage and amps and all that good stuff. So that's been a good investment. Someone who I also got as a referral from another person I knew through scouting, and someone who was doing work at our house. And so yeah, so I had to pivot, and I kind of realized that my 1 week expectation of literally a Monday to a Monday for all of the electricians' work to be done is kind of in jeopardy. And so what I decided to do was I looked at the calendar, and I had built in essentially the last week of the month of January, so that would be kind of just finished. I could go over there and broom sweep the building, turn in my keys, make sure the power was shut off, all those kind of things. I kind of given myself a little bit of a buffer, and unfortunately I'm having to cut into that. So what I did today, after walking around with the electrician and kind of seeing everything, I called the moving company, because this was really kind of the hard deadline, was the moving company, and I had them set up to come on a Thursday, actually a week from, about 10 days from now, and they would be bringing all the stuff over here. But in order for that to happen, of course, this space has to be ready. And so with the electrician kind of having these bumps in the road, which he did tell me later that he plans on working over the weekend, which is very generous of him to get me taken care of and keep me on time and on schedule, because he realizes that I have booked all these people after him. We kind of made that a point to not have too many people in here while he was working, because he'd be taking down lights and doing all kinds of stuff and demolition. So anywho, I went ahead and called the moving company, and I pushed back the move date from a Thursday, gave me another weekend, and then they're going to do the move on a Monday. That's the last Monday in January, and so I'm not giving myself much of a buffer zone there. I also was going to go and clean out a storage unit that I've been paying for. I think I mentioned already in this series that I have a product called Best Hobby Pages, and that I store some of that over in a storage unit. And so my plan was, I don't want to pay another $130 for storage rental fees this month, so I'll go ahead and grab all that stuff, bring it over here, and just put it in the warehouse. But a couple of things happened there. One is I started thinking about where is it ultimately going to go? One thing I don't really want to do is move things twice. And so once I kind of identified the space that I want the Best Hobby Pages to go, and identified what type of shelving I want to use, now I kind of have the idea that I need to build some casters, which I can do, it's just woodworking and stuff, in order to have these shelves be movable. But it also meant that if I was to bring all of those boxes, they're like maybe 12 by 12 by 5, they're pretty heavy boxes, maybe there's hundreds of them, over here, I would have to pile them up in a corner somewhere and hope the electrician could work around them, hope that the painter could work around them, hope that the security guy, installer guy could work around them. And then once the movers came, then I'd have to move them again to get them on these shelves in that certain room. So that was reason number 1. Reason number 2 was I only now have my daughter helping me, and so she was kind of grumbling, as I kind of described what we were going to have to do in emptying that storage unit in 2 days. And so I texted her this morning before she came to work, and I told her, hey, we're going to change the plans. I'm going to move the Best Hobby Pages after you've already gone off to college, and so don't worry about that. I said, what we're going to do today is we're going to go to Lowe's, a hardware store, and we're going to start building the shelves. And so that's what I want to kind of talk about here is that one of the nice things about being able to kind of start from scratch with your without upfitting building is that you can design it and make it exactly the way you want to make it. I think in yesterday's video I mentioned that in our eBay store we have about 90,000 listed items, and for some of you maybe who are everything sellers, the idea of having 90,000 items would blow your mind. You not blow your mind, you would like lose your shit. You'd be like, oh my God, like, if you had really bulky big items. But again, I am selling like patches that weigh like 0.2 ounces. I mean, they're really, really light and small, and they can all fit together. And so, I mean, I do sell other things, but that's the vast majority of what those 90,000 items are. And so for our inventory system, what we have is we have sort of long boxes that are about 30 inches long, and they're about 6 inches wide and about 4 inches deep. And we have all of the patches are individually bagged in little Ziploc bags, and they're tagged with a SKU number in case you are wondering about that. Again, if you're curious about the SKU and what I'm doing with all that, how do I keep track of 90,000 items? Leave me a comment in this video, and then before this series is over, I'll try to respond to that and maybe show you what I'm doing. But essentially what this is, this system that I built is, there's gonna be 8 shelves on this, I call it a ladder. I don't know what a woodworker would call it or somebody else. And so there's gonna be a shelf here going out 8 feet and a shelf here going out 8 feet. And the nice thing about these shelves is that I'll be able to take a sheet of plywood, and if I cut it in 3, I'll have 16-inch wide shelves, which will fit right on here. So I'll have the ability to have this. So basically I'm building like an 8-foot long shelving unit that'll have room for front and back 48 of my inventory boxes. And an inventory box could probably hold between 225 up to maybe as many as 300 patches. And so that's kind of the math of how all this fits. So in order for me to fully build out this the way I want it to be in the beginning, I need to build these ladders. I need to build a little over 40 of them, which might be a little overkill, but I kind of want to set the warehouse up to begin with. I am going to leave one aisle, and I'm not going to show you this later once we get in here. I'm going to leave one aisle completely open or unbuilt for now. And that's the way when you come in the door, you'll have a line of sight to see all the way to the back of the building. And I think that'll just make it a little more attractive and a little more easier to navigate and get around if there's like a really grand wide aisle that you can get through, rather than someone having to have a labyrinth, have to go around through shelves to find where the bathroom is or something like that. So that's what I've been working on. My daughter was here until a little bit. She told me 2 o'clock was her quitting time, and I was like, okay, when they're 21 years old, you can't really tell them what to do. You're just happy they're still willing to help. And so, but she did a great job. We were out front, actually. I don't know if you could tell in this lighting, probably not, but I got a little sun. The sun shines directly on the front of this building. And we were outside on the porch putting all this together, because I was thinking, okay, well, I want to have sawdust and things, because we were actually using a saw. And so anyways, got a little bit of sun today, which is bad, because I just went to the dermatologist last week. I have to go there every 6 months. When you get to be old and you've spent 17 summers working on scout camp staff, that's just way too much exposure to the sun. And so I go see my dermatologist every 6 months, and she likes to take care of any little worrisome spots that she sees. So I should have wore some sunscreen, but I wasn't planning on working outside. So anyways, it's all good. So I'm going to stay here even after turning off this video and wrapping it up, and try to build more of these. Probably stay for another hour or two, kind of see how much longer my wife will tolerate me staying out here, and just keep on working on it. I only bought about half of the lumber of what I think I ultimately will need by the end. So I even have to go buy more lumber. So this is a big trip to Lowe's, but I'll take care of that. I also had another wonderful thing. Brad, this local guy who I think I might have told you came and helped us another day, he showed up totally out of the blue today. Totally out of the blue. He had watched a video that I posted in my Patreon group, and he knew where the building was located, and so he just showed up, and I let him run the circular saw, and he cut all of these boards. He cut about, I think I had about 84 boards that he cut in half in order to give us these 4-foot long risers here. So super helpful, Brad, if you're watching this video. Thank you very, very much. Another pivot I had, to name it that, is that when I was going around with the electrician, this is one of those things too, like in your mind, you're like, okay, this room's gonna work for this, and that space is gonna go there, and that space is gonna go there. But then sometimes you run into these things where when you actually get into the building and you start following the wires and looking at where the doors are and everything else, you have to kind of pivot. And so there was a particular room in the back of the warehouse that I had, my mindset was going to be where I would do sort of leave a permanent streaming area set up. I now do a weekly Whatnot show that's been pretty successful. Shout out to Jennifer. Gosh, what is her name for Whatnot? I'll put it in a little comment at the bottom so you can see it. Met her at the East Tennessee Reseller Meetup, which was a lot of fun. I met Scott there, the bearded picker. I had listened to his podcast, and he kept talking about this friend of his named Jennifer. And he kept raving about her, saying what, she was like a Whatnot queen. And so sure enough, she was at the East Tennessee Reseller Meetup. Got to meet her in person, got to meet Scott in person. And I kind of sat down with her. I really, honestly, true to God, did not plan on starting a Whatnot show when I was going to that Reseller Meetup. But meeting her, sitting there talking to her, and there was another guy who kind of listened on the conversation and gave some great advice. I kind of explained to her this niche I was in and the things that I'm doing, and she sort of said, man, she's really encouraged me. She thought I really could pull off Whatnot, being that I already had an audience built through my newsletter, through my Facebook group, and all those kind of things. And so back in October, I launched a Whatnot show, and between October through right before Christmas, I think I ran 11 shows every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, SanteeSwapper. You can follow me if you will. And they were very successful. I was like, son of a gun. So every once in a while I would message Jennifer and ask her questions. She was very kind about that. There was another lady that I had met in, I think it was in Chris Lynn's group. Her name, she goes by Reseller Maven, and I cannot remember her name off the top of my head, but she's a bookseller, and she helped me also with Whatnot about a year ago when I tried my first attempt at Whatnot. So anyways, I did a show last Wednesday. I'm going to do a show this Wednesday. I'm going to do a show every Wednesday because what do you know, Whatnot actually works. Again, you have to bring your audience. That's a real struggle for people, but this is another benefit of being a niche seller and having the email list that I mentioned, and then also we have a Facebook group that has about 20,000 collectors in it, and so we're able to kind of market things like that in there. So, boy, I went down a tangent there. But what I was trying to say about the pivot is that there was a room that I was going to set up and kind of leave permanently set up to kind of be a streaming room where I could record my unboxing videos, do my Whatnot show in, and just have all the supplies and stuff that I need in that small room, but then also kind of set up an interesting backdrop. And so when I was looking at it with the electrician, the one problem is where the door is in that room, there's like a big door, and it was just kind of like, it almost meant that there was not a place for the desk to go. Like it was a small room, which would be perfect for that setup, but with that big door, it just kind of messed with things. So I actually, with talking to him, we're gonna move that to a different room adjacent to that, and then I'll use that as more of a storage room. So anyways, again, another pivot, not a big deal. Haven't like run wires for anything yet, but he and I are talking about the lighting and where we would put the lighting, and so that was kind of a decision that I had to make. Good news, tomorrow I'm going to publish kind of a week 1 recap video. I won't consider this to be one of the days of the 30-day challenge, so I'm not going to short you. We're still going to have 30 daily segments. But tomorrow's video that'll be published is going to be kind of a recap. And what I'm going to do in that video especially is include a lot of what some people would kind of call the B-roll, where I have taken pictures along the way this week of all of the moving and the sawing and the trip to Lowe's and the arrival of the moving truck and just all the stuff that has happened this week that I just haven't snuck in any of the footage for, because I've been doing kind of these talking heads videos, which is honestly very easy for me to do kind of at the end of the day and catch up with you guys and deliver what I promised, which is to take you along on this journey. So thanks for sticking around for 7 days. Again, there's a playlist that you'll be able to click on, and you can just watch all of these in order. It's going to be called, I think it's like 30 day, buying my reseller warehouse. I think that's kind of just the easy tagline I'm using for the playlist. So hope you will stick around and keep on watching. Again, if you have comments, leave them for me, and that might help me inform me as to what I should talk about or questions I could answer in future videos, because I am just recording these just a few days ahead, so I have a little bit of a lead. So thanks very much, Jason Spangler on SanteeSwapper on eBay, and yeah, stick around for day 8 coming up soon.